And good evening, I'm Morgan Chesky in for Tom Llamas. Tonight, Ernesto is now officially a hurricane, churning in the Atlantic after slamming Puerto Rico and plunging that island into darkness. The storm is barreling into the U.S. territory, packing damaging winds and heavy downpours, flash floods wiping out streets and cutting off communities. This new video of a dam just outside of San Juan gushing as floodwaters push the vital infrastructure to the brink. But it's the island's power grid taking the brunt of the storm. Trees toppling power lines, snapping many right in half. As we've reported, Puerto Rico's main power company has struggled to maintain the grid since Hurricane Maria slammed the island back in 2017. And at this hour, more than 700,000 customers are in the dark. That accounts for nearly half of the island. But Puerto Rico isn't the only place hit by Ernesto. In St. Martin, a group of sailors had to be rescued from their stranded ship after it was caught in rough waters. Residents of Tortola in the British Virgin Islands met with torrential rains and violent wind gusts. Right now, the storm's expected to strengthen as it spins in the Atlantic before setting its sights on Bermuda. Meteorologist Angie Lassman is standing by with the track and the timing. And though Ernesto won't directly impact the U.S. mainland, it could affect your beach weekend. Those along the East Coast should be aware of life-threatening rip currents and strong surf. In just a moment, we'll speak with the leader of Bermuda as the island begins hurricane preparations. But first, we start with Guad Venegas in hard-hit Puerto Rico.
Tonight, massive power outages and dangerous conditions caused by Hurricane Ernesto. Heavy rains have caused rivers to overflow their banks. Officials say rescuers are searching for the driver of this vehicle that swept away. Flooding conditions forcing a shutdown of roads and bridges.
Stay away from the coastal areas. Stay safe at home or wherever you are staying in the case of tourists.
The storm also causing havoc on Puerto Rico's vulnerable power grid, still recovering from previous storms. More than 700,000 customers, nearly half the island, left without power.
Estamos en la calle.
Luma Energy assuring they are on the ground, working to reestablish service as fast as possible with more than 1,500 technicians assessing the damage. Yet no indication of how long the outages will last. Those who can, now relying on backup generators, wondering when the power will be restored. Tonight, Puerto Rico grappling with the aftermath of yet another storm. Guad Venegas, NBC News.
And for more on the storm's path and where it could impact next, NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now. Angie, I know you've been tracking this one all day long. Who's in the crosshairs as of right now?
Hey, good evening, Morgan. The deal is we're going to be watching for Bermuda, but down the line, as we get into later parts of Friday and early Saturday, we've still got some time where this system is going to sit over those really warm ocean waters and potentially gain some strength, becoming a Cat 2, maybe a Cat 3, before it nears the island of Bermuda. Right now, we've got winds at 75 miles per hour, Category 1, but moving northwest at 16 miles per hour. You'll notice over the next 12 hours or maybe 24 hours that this will start to take more of a northerly component. The good news is it's moving away from the Caribbean. So we saw substantial rain across parts of Puerto Rico. That's going to start to wind down. We've already seen most of the flood alerts for folks there expire, but we will still need a little time to see some of those flooded roadways and such kind of recede. In the meantime, we're going to see the system work to the north, likely becoming a Cat 2, Cat 3 by the time we get into Friday. Now, late Friday into early Saturday is when we're expecting tropical storm conditions and then eventually hurricane conditions for folks in Bermuda. You can see the hurricane watch that is newly issued with that last update. We're going to see winds potentially up to 115 miles per hour. So the impacts for Bermuda are going to be those strong hurricane force winds as well as the additional rainfall. Where the center of that system is, that's still to be determined. We've got some time until we kind of see how that shapes up. Then we potentially could be looking at some impacts way down the line early next week for parts of eastern Canada, the coastal areas. That's something we'll watch as that system enters those northern Atlantic waters. For the United States, we do have the potential to see some high surf and some rip currents, so not great at the beach Thursday through Sunday, Morgan.
All right, good advice, Angie. Thank you so much. And as Angie said, Hurricane Ernesto is set to hit Bermuda as we head towards the weekend. For more on what the island's doing to prepare, I'm joined now by Bermuda's Premier, David Burt. Premier Burt, thanks so much for joining Top Story tonight. Last time you and I crossed paths was when Hurricane Fiona sideswiped Bermuda 2 years ago. That felt like a pretty close call. Storm passed about 100 miles to the west, and yet we both recall how intense that storm was. I know winds neared about 100 miles an hour. Half of the island temporarily lost power, but damage was minimal. Now, unfortunately, Hurricane Ernesto does have the potential to strike much closer. So walk us through what you and your government are currently doing ahead of this storm.
Thank you, Morgan. It's good to talk to you again. What we are making sure to do is just our standard precautions, making sure that persons are securing their property, checking their property insurance, stocking up on essentials. But Bermuda is well drilled in hurricane preparation. The island comes together, and I have no doubt the Minister of National Security has convened the Emergency Measures Organization. They met today. They'll meet tomorrow with the latest watches that have been issued, and we will be prepared for this storm if it comes as close as predicted to come to the island.
Right. I know the track could still vary between now and when it could potentially arrive. So what is your biggest concern as of right now? And what are you telling residents specifically?
Well, I think our biggest concern, which we see with most of these storms, depending on where the track actually is the damage on things that are near and close to water. If it is a direct hit, we'll have more wind damage, but significantly water items happen where it comes to boats, where it comes to docks, where it comes to landing, et cetera. But we want to make sure we take care of the vulnerable. We're having people check on our seniors. We're making sure that any persons who may be unsheltered are made sure to be housed. And we want to make sure that everyone has a safe passage. Of course, we have tourists that are here on the island enjoying what has been a fantastic summer in Bermuda. And what I will say is that those tourists know that our hotels will take care of them if they are here. And as you know, Morgan, as you were here for a hotel the last time we had a storm, the next day we are back to work. Bermuda is well drilled. Our building codes are excellent. Our buildings withstand up to 150-mile-an-hour gusts, so we'll be ready and prepared for the storm if it does come.
In fact, you touched on what I was just going to ask you about, Premier, and that is the fact that you do have this building code in place. I was struck whenever Fiona sideswiped the island. The damage was so incredibly minimal. In fact, just several roofs were reported missing. I think one boat may have received some damage there. Walk us through the specifics of this code and what you personally witnessed, the impact it's had with past storms.
Well, from a storm that we had in the 1960s, we've upgraded our building code significantly because what we don't want is to have the type of damage. We recognize where we are as an island. We need to make sure that we have strong building codes. So all of our buildings are constructed of limestone and or concrete, thick stone roofs. As I said, the building codes do make sure they withstand up to 150-mile-an-hour gusts. So it is very rare to see structural damage from buildings. What you will see in case there's tornadoes that may spin out of the storm and others, you will see some roofs that may come off depending on how direct and hits, and then there'll be other things insofar as foliage and otherwise. But it does help to limit the island's economic losses and life compared to other countries due to our very strong building codes that we have here in place.
An island nation that knows all too well the power of hurricanes, and yet you appeared to be incredibly prepared. Premier Burt, thank you so much for making time for Top Story. Wishing you and your family, your island well. Keep that swizzle close by. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.